So, good day to folks who may be viewing this this video. Bernadette Kelly has Bernie Kelly, as we've known her over the years, has graciously given up some of her time today to talk to us about the new Reading Mastery Transformations Edition, the latest iteration of what started 50 years ago as the DISTAR reading program. And one of the authors I was talking to said by his recollection, this is like the fifth revision of the program itself. And since now it's become an integrated reading, language arts, or literacy program. So Bernie, thank you so much for your time today. Look forward to hearing more about the program. So can you start by giving us just a brief history of your association with direct instruction?
Sure, yeah. I used direct instruction in my first teaching job in 1980 in England, so that's exactly 40 years ago, in a residential school, and I was using corrective reading, DISTAR arithmetic, and spelling through morphographs, if I recall rightly. Then I came out to the States in 1983, enrolled in the University of Oregon doctoral program. The focus of the program I was enrolled in was supervision and coaching, but also instructional design, which became my first love. After graduating, I stayed on as a research assistant, worked in South Africa from 1988 to 90, training direct instruction in a Black homeland area. In 1990, I returned to Oregon, and that's when I began co-authoring. It was the upper levels of Connecting Math Concept. The next project was Essentials for Algebra, and a revision of Connecting Math Concepts, and then the Reading Mastery Transformations from 2014, when I joined this project.
Great, great. And so what levels of the Transformations Edition did you work on?
I'm still working on the language strands of grades 2 and 3.
I see. Well, great. So can you describe the contents of this revision in relation to the earlier edition of the program? So like what has changed? What are users likely to notice the most? And can you give a little rationale or background as for why those changes were made?
Okay. Some of the things the users will notice most are actually not specifically related to content. So a great big change is that teachers present from the device across all levels, including using group displays. There are computer-generated reports from the 10-lesson mastery tests. The teacher input scores from the paper-pencil tests in the workbook for grade 2. And the students transition to online assessments. The first 3 are hybrid tests in language 3, with sections in the workbook and online. And then from the 4th test on, they're entirely online. And so there are computer-generated reports for every mastery test in both levels that identify pass-fail data for each part of the test, and then which parts need a group remediation. And then the remediation exercises are all found in one place with a complete remedy lesson for each mastery test. So that's a big change, and that's not content related, but nevertheless significant. Mm-hmm. Materials have a different look. There's a full 4-color workbook as well as the textbook, and so I'm excited to see the actual materials later this fall. That will be, I'm looking forward to it anyway. So as far as the biggest content change, I think in both levels, the users will notice that there's much more writing. Grade 2 goes much further in narrative writing. So the terminal skill there, students write a complete narrative from a single picture prompt. It also includes some opinion and informative writing. So the first informative writing exercises in the grade 2 level refer back to what students have learned in the reading strand. So for example, trees and water are texts that they work with, or little reports that they write. Then later they write short reports from new informational passages. And then in both levels, the informative writing culminates in projects, group projects, where students write reports from researching sources, different sources, including the internet. One topic in grade 2 is hibernation, and in grade 3, the reports are on the planets of the solar system. So that's all very different and new, expanding the content that was there before. Grade 3, of course, also has opinion and informational texts. Those exercises start with oral retells, which are brand new, of information related to volcanoes and tsunamis. In the most advanced exercises, the students integrate 2 sources. So they write a report that uses 2 informational passages. And this is specifically to help prepare the students for what they may see in online assessments. So we incorporated those exercises and also placed them in the early 80s of the programs, so that students should have completed those before they are exposed to an external assessment. So they should have completed those in time for an assessment. In grade 3, students also write short persuasive passages for a given point of view, such as why recycling is important or why kids should read on a weekend. And many of the writing activities span 2 days. This was also part of the signatures pattern, but they can work with a partner to edit their passages on the second day.
Interesting. And were some of those, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt your train of thought. Were many of these Common Core driven or
well, yes, both. You know, there was feedback from the field that it would be that we should include more writing activities, and that the kids should do more writing in the language strands of reading mastery. So it was partly driven by feedback from the field, but absolutely, we were given the task of meeting the Common Core standards for every level that we're working on. So yes, those 3 types of writing, the narrative, opinion, and informative writing, are the 3 main writing aspects that are included in the Common Core state standards. So yes, that was definitely a part of it.
Nice.
So related again to the writing, the checks that students use to check their work after they've written a passage, and then feedback from the teacher related to their writing, are now letters, not numbers, as they were in signatures. And so the hope is that they will be more directly usable by the students, because they give a clue to the precise thing that needs work, and then keeping those check letters consistent within each level of the program. So an example would be CP stands for capital or period, so punctuation for sentence. Q is quotation punctuation. IH would be including all the important things that happened in a narrative that must have happened given the inferences that the kids are making. So that's a difference. There are a lot of differences from I'll keep going with more differences if you like. The grade 2 signatures was quite unusual because it had 2 distinct parts. And with part of the movement of bringing higher level content down into the lower, to a lower level of the program, we did not retain the first part of signatures grade 2, on the first 65 lessons, with the exceptional notation of some of the stories. So folks who know the program might be pleased to know that we still have the Bragging Rats and Goober and Bleep and Molly and Zelda, Mrs. Hudson, and Roxy the Rock Collector, and Rolla the merry-go-round horse. All of those characters are still in the grade 2 language strand, but a lot of the other activities, map reading and a lot more work in deductions, is not incorporated into the new grade 2.
Interesting. And it got pushed up then, or did it get taken away from?
Well, grade 1 may have incorporated some of it. I don't know. We'd have to talk to Evan about that. But we had to focus on, incorporating some of the old grade 3 into grade 2. So we had a lot to incorporate, and made the decision that, we'd start with what was, I believe, originally a reasoning and writing, or related to a reasoning and writing edition of a program, and build from that for the start of grade 2. So as I'm saying, we incorporated some of the grade 3 content into grade 2. We needed to make the space for that. So there's the narrative content that I already mentioned. Then the kids needed much more sophisticated alphabetizing skills because they were needed to address some of the Common Core state standards relating to glossaries and print dictionaries. So we couldn't teach those properly without really giving the kids a lot more alphabetizing skills. So again, that was incorporated from what was grade 3 content.
It's interesting to say that with the Common Core. Many people might argue that some of those skills, such as alphabetization, familiarity with how to use a glossary and things like that, that those are sort of arcane.
Mm-hmm. I think Bonnie has something to say about that. You've already spoken to
I have
her,
not yet, no.
But yeah, it's arguable, but you know, I personally think alphabetizing, you use it in daily life. You know, I look things up myself. It's difficult to teach, though. It takes a lot of instructional time. So I can see the argument for not emphasizing that for so much. And I think some things were incorporated into those standards, of course, without really thinking through all of the prerequisites that would be needed for that. Whereas that's our forte.
Yeah, definitely.
Really, if we're going to teach it, we're going to teach it.
Right.
So we teach it. And then kind of following on from that, the other examples of new content that were absolutely specifically for meeting the Common Core state standards. So in grade 2, examples would be collective nouns and compound words. So they would be shorter, not major, tracks that would run through the entire program, like the writing strand. But they needed to be incorporated to meet the standards. And so, but again, if, Zig being Zig, teaching collective nouns, for example, the standard simply says, use collective nouns, e.g. group. Okay, so what are you going to do with that, right? It's very vague.
Vague.
So we take that standard, and rather than just learning collective nouns as vocabulary, for example, a pride of lions or a crowd of people, which we do teach because that's, the first part of that. We address the language usage and common errors that kids could make with collective nouns. And that would be the subject-verb agreement. So I could give you an example. I actually printed something out because it's a very nice sequence that where sort of the terminal thing we do with that is if you say a flock is flying, you also say a flock of geese is flying. And the common error would be a flock of geese were flying because of the plural geese. And so we've got this really nice sequence, verbal sequence, where we introduce it and we say, first you say, the flock is flying, then you say the flock of geese is flying, and you do that transformation for several examples, including present progressive, past progressive, regular present tense. Beautiful range of examples, lots of repeat until firms, and you're teaching something. So that's Zig at his best. And so, we would take even those small shorter tracks and try to make something useful out of them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Really. Yeah. No, that's a nice example of that. And yes, definitely there's so many, Zig's fingerprints are all over these programs, as rightly they should be. So I think you've given some strong rationale for the changes that took place, addressing Common Core, responding to the field, and definitely the range of the type of writing, because I think that was one of the issues with the old reasoning and writing, was that it was more arguing and critiquing as opposed to
right. More emphasis on the reasoning than the writing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
And related to that, whereas there was that downward shift of content, taking from a higher level and incorporating it, one of the things that happened, because we had so much to fit in to grade 3 specifically, we did not use any of the old grade 4. So that's something that, teachers may be interested in knowing, because, and I'm sure, Bonnie incorporated some of the 4, 5, and 6, in terms of what she's now got in the higher levels. But we did not use any of the specific examples from the old grade 4 signatures.
What advice do you have for teachers implementing the program, and coaches perhaps that are working with teachers implementing the program?
Mm-hmm. I think most definitely a critical thing is providing clear and usable feedback for the writing exercises. It's not an easy thing to do. Many activities have students write one day and edit the next. So the teacher must check those passages before the next lesson. And the teacher's guide does give some very specific information and advice about how to maximize the teacher's time, so that while the teacher is observing and giving feedback when the passages are being written for the first time, how to keep moving between students. If you've read part of the passage, make a line in the margin so you all, when you see the passage again, you've read that far. If you identify a problem there, put a dot in the margin in that line so that you can go back and see if the students fixed that particular one that you pointed out. Didn't necessarily spend a lot of time with the student, may have just generally mentioned that there's a problem, to look at there.
Uh-huh.
And so ways for the teacher to keep their time as efficient as possible. Giving feedback to the whole group for problems that you observe as you are moving between students, so that, again, just the feedback is maximized and usable for the students. Students also use the letter checks that we talked about earlier, the writing checks, to read over the passages before turning them in. So again, that's another time where the kids are doing the work, but the teacher can be monitoring and, seeing again, reading that part there. Oh, I see something right here, make a little mark for the student to address before they turn the work in. So as much of that can be looked at prior to the end of the lesson, if possible. So the more that can be done by the teacher during the lesson, the less the teacher has to do later at home. And the better equipped they are to be more efficient on the second day's exercise, where again, of course, the teacher is going to be involved as the students are editing their work. Then, the teacher will be better equipped to zero in on particular students, for example, if they had seen they had more issues to deal with than others, and so on. So it's a question of using time efficiently and giving that feedback, because their writing will not improve unless they have real clear feedback. And there's a lot more writing. So I think that would be a key thing for both the teachers and coaches.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you provided some great guide-type guidance as to how to do that, as opposed to, just a blanket statement as be certain to provide, adequate feedback on writing.
Yeah. There's a lot of information in the guide. So I really encourage, there's a separate section that's on the writing activities, and, breaks it down before the students write, because there'll be a discussion time or kids practicing sentences that they might use. Then as the students write, as they check, and as they edit. So, it's really worth reading for the teachers to get a handle on what might work really well for them.
I'd like to give you an opportunity. Are there any parting words, advice, any summation that you'd like to make?
Really, just keep on keeping on. Still doing the best we can. And I really look forward to knowing that the program at least is out there and helping teachers and kids. Great. It's been a long journey.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, Bernie, I want to thank you personally for your time. Also, issue a great thank you to you for your years of dedication to and commitment to the kids out there in the world and giving them the opportunities that they deserve to have and to maximize their educational experiences. This new Transformations edition, I think, is a great legacy that you are taking part in, and that's I thank you. We all thank you for that. So nice work, and maybe there'll be another revision in the future.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, you take care, and best
Thanks.
wishes to you. Bye now.
Okay, thanks. Bye.